much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Good evening. Happy Friday night, and welcome to the program. My name is Doc Watkins. I'll be your host. I'm joined tonight by Brandon Guerra on the drums, Mike Porter on the bass. My special guest this evening is acclaimed vocalist and songwriter Spencer Day. We'll get to the music in just a minute, but first, let's have a look at the JazzTexas news. In the music biz, Taylor Swift is returning to her country roots, performing at the Academy of Country Music Awards for the first time in 7 years. However, no one has been able to explain exactly how Tay-Tay has country roots when she was born and raised in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Texas Senator Ted Cruz has called for a criminal investigation of Netflix over whether the French film Cuties violates obscenity laws. Cruz, who apparently watches a lot of Netflix, has also asked NASA to investigate Hawkins, Indiana, where a group of teenagers led by a left-wing socialist named 11 disappeared into the Upside Down. A snake at the St. Louis Zoo has laid eggs recently without being around a male for the past 15 years. This is the greatest news ever, said every married woman in the world who wants to get pregnant. A decision has been made to cancel AMC's The Walking Dead after an expanded 24-episode 11th season that will air over 2 years. At this point, the only thing harder to kill off than the zombies is the show, The Walking Dead. And finally, in sports, the attorneys for a former Los Angeles Angels clubhouse attendant who was fired are alleging that their client was depicted as a scapegoat in baseball's efforts to curb the use of foreign substances. Meanwhile, the attorneys representing a group of trash cans are suing the Houston Astros for accusing their clients of coercing Astros players to bang on them. And that's it for the JazzTexas News. Well, we'll get to the music in just a minute, but how about a toast, everybody? I want to thank so much of you for tuning in tonight to the Doc Watkins Show, especially those of you who have ordered food and drinks from our curbside and delivery program. We're now open 5 nights a week, Tuesday through Saturday. We'll deliver the food right to your door, or you can come and pick it up right here from JazzTexas. So here's to many more years of JazzTexas music, excuse me, music, food, drinks, friends, and fellowship. Cheers, y'all. We're going to get started with one of our favorite tunes. This is an old swinging tune called Canadian Sunset. Here we go, fellas. I want 2, 3. As Canadian Sunset, Brandon Guerra on the drums, Mike Porter on the bass. Also want to give a big shout out to our production team, Caitlin Hill on the audio production, and on the video production, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Zients. Science! With Wizard Broadcasting. We also want to give a big shout out to our production partner and media sponsor, KRTU 91.7, the greatest jazz radio station on the planet. And guys, thank you so much for being our partner. We love you. And we also want to let you know that we have a new online course out just a couple weeks ago called Conversational Jazz. It'll teach you how to play jazz in 8 weeks or less, or you get a free frozen turkey come Thanksgiving time and a couple of nice presents in your stockings if we don't deliver on that promise. So in 8 weeks or less, you can have your own The Doc Watkins Show and do exactly what you're doing from the comfort of your own home. That's our guarantee, sort of. Okay, so I hope you'll check that out. Again, that's the Conversational Jazz course. The link is up there in the description of the live stream, so I hope you'll join us for the journey, play some jazz together. We're going to play a tune now by the great Cole Porter entitled All of You. That's All of You by the great Cole Porter. Welcome to the program. Thank you for tuning in. My special guest tonight is a #1 Billboard jazz pop singer and songwriter who has played venues as diverse as Lincoln Center, the Hollywood Bowl, London's West End, and even JazzTexas. He's a widely acclaimed songwriter, creating witty and sophisticated pop songs in the tradition of classic American jazz writers. The Washington Post praised his cool jazz sensibilities and cleverly crafted tales. Time Out New York called him a compelling, quirky singer-songwriter. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program my good friend, Mr. Spencer Day.
Hi, everybody.
Spencer, thank you for coming on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I got to on the Sunlights, the visual Chris, everybody. I watched Shaka Khan and Gladys Knight. They were doing one, and you guys, the sound and lights are better than most things I've seen in the last 6 months for sure.
Better than Gladys Knight?
I mean, in terms of yes.
Well, you know,
that's a controversy.
I have heard that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you've always struck me as a young Gladys Knight when I look at you. You know?
Yeah, that's what my kids say. I can't seem to shake that image, you know. Like
you're leaving on that midnight train for JazzTexas.
So Spencer, welcome to the program. I love your shirt. Where does this pandemic find you today?
I just put this on because I believe tomorrow's Mexican Independence Day. I'm near Ensenada. I'm in Mexico right now. I rented a studio down here prior to the pandemic, just being a glimmer in our eye back in January, which I'd set up to study Huapango. I've been studying a lot of Mexican music, which I really love, for a project I want to do called La Frontera. And yeah, so I've been kind of traveling back and forth. For the first 2 months of this pandemic, I was in Jalisco, which I didn't plan for that to be the case, but we were doing some gigs and then everything just shut down. So we decided to stay, but I've been going between here and Southern California a little bit, but trying to, not travel extensively to, do my part to be non-essential.
Yeah.
I mean, non-essential traveling.
So what attracted you to Mexican folk music?
Well, I think, this is true of jazz too. I think the deeper you go into any genre, there's a lot of people, as you know, that will say, oh, I don't like jazz. And it's like, well, when you say that, what does that mean? There's such a wealth of it. And I think because I started doing some gigs down here, the more I've gotten to discover just how deep the stuff goes and how rhythmically interesting and just, I think it's very easy culturally, especially if it's in another language, to kind of diminish something down to like, I don't know, La Cucaracha or whatever. And that's as much as people feel like they know about it. And so much beautiful music, classical music, so just like jazz, always deeper you can kind of into it,
What would you say are the biggest similarities and the biggest differences? And please educate me, because I'm not that familiar with this style of music, but I want to know more. What are the biggest differences, similarities, and differences?
Definitely, I'd say in where the rhythm falls, what makes something swing, which is why it's amazing how language is affected how we sing too. Like if you have like, if you have like a when the rumba rhythm starts to play, the way German and English fall is very like on the beat, everything. And jazz innately is about laying back on the beat, whereas a lot of Latin music or Mexican music is very on top of the beat. So I've tried to have John Story and Alex Frank, who I believe you both had on the show. I've tried to have them play a Huapango, and it's like they're kind of getting it. I mean, they're playing everything right, but I was like, it just doesn't sound right. And I think you have to live in something in the same way that I've tried to get my friends in Mexico to swing. And man, as they say, it's like, swinging on a playground. They're getting there, like for both people, but it's something where you really have to live in it. But I'd say rhythm there's actually some surprising jazz chords that you'll hear in a lot of traditional Latin music that you wouldn't think. But I'd say the rhythm is the main thing. It's just such a completely different way of breaking apart rhythm. One of my first gigs was when I started singing at Cal Arts, was filling in for a salsa band. It was a Cuban band in East LA, and they needed like a choro singer. So I was singing like bananera, 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 kilo oye. Or I don't even know the song, but they're like, you're swinging everything. It was like their complaint. They're like, everything you're singing would be like behind the beat. So it's hard, you know, when you've lived in that so long.
I'm watching you in your Guayabera. You're down in Mexico. You're talking about Latin music and La Cucaracha and grooving out and everything. And I just have to turn back to my colleagues and say, guys, I think of all the people we've had on the show, Spencer Day is enjoying the pandemic by far the most. You're just like, yeah, I'm down here in Mexico just studying Mexican folk music. I've got my shirt on. You told me earlier you had some salsa and some eggs and some peppers for breakfast. I'm like, come on, Spencer, you got to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, well, you know, weirdly, I think for all of us, I so respect what you guys are doing because I'm really inspired to see all the ways that people are really making the best of it. And for me, it's like if you have a natural disaster, it's like, well, what you gonna do? But you got to roll with it. So for me, you know, seeing some of the kind of toxic things that happen on social media and how something that's been a way of connecting people has kind of done, in some cases, the opposite has gotten me way more down than the actual, you know, all of the work kind of drying up and stuff. So for me, the weird thing, as I'm sure like you guys too, I didn't realize how burnt out on travel I was. And I'm really excited to do gigs when it is appropriate to do them. But man, I was really like, I think I slept in my own bed 3 days in December. And I think I Bora Bora and Nashville right before it was. So just to kind of be, you know, kind of tune it down a little bit. I've been okay with it. I think other people are wanting the distraction, but I think for a lot of musicians, having a period of not so much travel has kind of been a unexpected, I don't know. Well, I've gotten to write. I think that's the main thing is I've finally had time to work on a bunch of instrumental music I've been writing. And I think because of the travel, I just had to keep putting that off. So, you know, I'm trying to take lemons and make lemonade.
Yeah. I remember you were here at JazzTexas not long before the lockdown happened, and you were talking about all your travels. You came and you played here one night, and then I think you were up in Austin for one night. You came down here for one night. Then you were up to Dallas. Then you were overseas on a cruise ship. You were all over the place, and I was thinking, man, how does this guy do it? He's just, you know, one-nighters, and then you got a week on a cruise ship, and then a bunch of one-nighters and everything. You're extremely hardworking, and I want to talk about the writing because you mentioned you've been doing a lot of writing. I know you have a new album that you're working on, and you're producing it with our good friend Alex Frank. Tell us about what we can expect on that album.
That record is all Broadway tunes, which was really Alex's idea. We wanted to do something because most of my records have been jazz pop and not a whole lot of swinging, as we were talking about. Swing, definitely in a pop sense, a lot of swing, but Alex is like, you've never done like a proper jazz standards record. And I was like, okay, I love Cole Porter too, and that was a killing version of that, but that's kind of been territory as a singer that's been tread a little bit. And my main thing with singing a cover is if I'm going to do it, I want to do it in a way I haven't heard anyone else do it. And Alex's dad worked on Broadway, and so he recommended that. And so it's all Broadway tunes, but we're trying to really swing them and do some really different things with them. And there's so many good ones that people don't touch. And in the same way that people can kind of diminish certain types of Latin music, I think jazz guys I've seen be a little elitist with Broadway, where they can be like, oh, it's cheesy. It definitely doesn't swing. Usually on Broadway, it's like, Broadway, very straight, everything is like right here. But like Annie has got some swinging songs, a chorus line. We wanted to pick Broadway ones that jazz people would almost consider too Broadway to do. I mean, we're not doing Phantom of the Opera. We didn't go quite there, but...
Well, the thing is, Spencer, that if the jazz purists don't like it, don't worry about it. There's only like 7 of them left, so... How many people can you offend, really? But what I want to talk about, so no Mexican, no La Cucaracha on the new album? Here you have the shirt on and the pina colada. I'm sure it's off camera. We just can't see it. And you're down in Mexico and you're doing Broadway. Is there going to be any Latin? Will you have an accordion or some kind of Latin influence on the record? Or do we have to wait for the next record after that and buy both now? Now I have to buy, you're suckering me into buying 2 of your records now.
Yeah, well, actually, we did a track from Evita, and we did it as a rumba, and that was one where I was down in Mexico for the first month and a half, and I'd had John. Everybody was so killing. I was like, okay, we got to get a little bit of the authentic touch for that. So I got my friend on maracas and my friend who's a killer flamenco guitar player. So we did get a little bit of that. We're doing Bali High from South Pacific, and we got some pedal steel from Nashville on that, which has been great. So it still manages to be very classically jazz, I think, but in a way that it's still got some quirky surprises in there that I think people will really like. But I think I'll be passing on La Cucaracha for that. But for the other project too, I'm definitely excited to do that. That's mostly going to be all original instrumental music, but Great. Really inspired by a lot of stuff. Alex is always giving me a hard time because if you go through my Apple Music right now library, it's pretty much all like Vicente Fernandez and like mariachi music. You have a way bigger chance of stumbling on that than Oscar Peterson at the moment. Not entirely.
When you came and did your first show at JazzTexas, I'd never heard your show before. I'd heard your music on Spotify, but I'd never seen you live before. And it was an absolutely terrific show. And I just sat there grinning ear to ear the entire time. And if I had to describe your music to someone who'd never heard of you before, I would say Spencer Day is an entertainer in the truest and the best sense of the word. Because here on the stage, in a 2-hour show, you incorporated everything from Broadway tunes to some original tunes that you wrote, to some pop tunes, to some jazz tunes. You told stories, you told some jokes. You had a great time with everybody. And that's what I love. So I love to hear about your new albums and what's coming out and the way the different influences come in. And you're focusing on Broadway from New York City, but you're down in Western Mexico, learning Mexican folk music and writing your own original tunes. So good for you, man.
Yeah, it's a musical schizophrenia, but I'm here for it. Humor is pretty killing. You guys, what you're doing is, once again, it's super sharp. I didn't have a suit and tie with me, but I feel very underdressed.
Well, we didn't have our guayabera with us, and if we had, we would have put them on for tonight. But you look terrific. Your website is spencerday.com. Everybody make sure and check out Spencer's music. He's got a lot of hits from years past and a lot of hits to come. He's got great albums out there. Follow him as soon as he gets back on the road. And as soon as we can open back up, we will, and we're going to have you back out here, Spencer. So thank you for coming on the program today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Doc. It's been such a pleasure. I can't wait to see you guys in person.
Likewise, my friend. Well, you be well. Enjoy Mexico. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy the drinks and the salsa and the tacos, which is what I had for breakfast this morning here in San Antonio, too. So we're on the same page, my friend. And we'll see you soon, okay?
All right, guys. Have a great day. Good to see you, Brandon.
See you, Spencer. Spencer Day, ladies and gentlemen. SpencerDay.com. Make sure and check him out. Did an absolutely terrific show here at JazzTexas. Can't wait to have him back. All right, moving along, we're going to do a beautiful ballad now by Duke Ellington called In a Sentimental Mood. Mike Porter on the bass solo. That's In a Sentimental Mood by Duke Ellington. We're going to swing out on a little blues for you now. This is an old Oscar Peterson arrangement of a tune called Night Train. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's Night Train by the great Oscar Peterson Trio, Mike Porter on the bass, Brandon Guerra on the drums. Well, it's that time of year, ladies and gentlemen. We're all cooped up inside of our homes during this pandemic looking for things to do. So we've gone ahead and created our own unique board game, which you can play along with right from the comfort of your own boudoir. So without further ado, let's play the board game. Well, by now you probably know how the board game works. We pick two famous people and or inanimate objects or food objects. We compare and contrast them both, and by the end of the game, I get to pick who's the biggest bore. So tonight on the board game, who's more boring? A biscuit or Limp Biscuit? Well, on the one hand, Limp Bizkit is an American rap rock band from Jacksonville, Florida, whose lead singer is Fred Durst. Before Limp Bizkit, Durst was medically discharged from the Navy after hurting his wrist, and he was also dishonorably discharged after naval officers heard his music. Limp Bizkit's big break was opening for Korn. Think about it. Biscuit and Korn working together. If only they had also included the Cranberries, Fiona Apple, the Black Eyed Peas, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Lemonheads, Vanilla Ice, Meatloaf, Bread, and Salt and Pepper. It could have been the only all bands named after a food concert. When coming up with their name, Limp Bizkit wanted to choose something that would turn people off and make them think the band was terrible. Well, they actually exceeded this goal because Limp Bizkit is terrible. On the other hand, a biscuit is a flour-based baked food product that is typically flat. When Limp Bizkit tries to sing in tune, he is typically flat. The word biscuit comes from the Latin words bis, meaning twice, and coctus, which means baked, which together means half-baked, as opposed to Limp Bizkit's Fred Durst, who is always fully baked whenever he performs. In Commonwealth nations, a biscuit is a small baked product that would be called a cracker. When Limp Bizkit performs for hip-hop audiences, he's also called a cracker. The main difference between biscuits and rolls is the leavening agents, as biscuits use baking soda and rolls use yeast. The main difference between Limp Bizkit and other bands is that other bands play music that is listenable. Well, it's a tough call, ladies and gentlemen, but if you had to pick who's the biggest bore, a biscuit or Limp Bizkit, the correct answer is Limp Bizkit. Thank you for playing the board game. All right, we like to swing out on an old Frank Sinatra tune for you. This is a tune that's great for the dance floor, so if you're at home or in your bedroom or your living room or whatever, feel free to get up and dance. If you go out to a restaurant right now, they won't let you dance, but you can watch the Doc Watkins Show anytime and dance from the comfort of your own home, and this is a great tune to dance to. This is It Had to Be You. That's It Had to Be You. We've got time for one more this evening, ladies and gentlemen, before we say good night. Start getting ready for tomorrow night. We hope you'll tune in tomorrow, Saturday night at 8 p.m. Texas time. Mike and Brandon will be back on the bass and drums, and we'll also be tuning in with the great trumpeter Alfonso Horn, who has played here at Jazz Texas multiple times with Sammy Miller and the congregation. So make sure and join us tomorrow night, 8 p.m. We'll be back with more tunes and Alfonso Horn on the trumpet. We're going to close out with one final number for you. Duke Ellington, Take the A Train. Here goes. Brandon Guerra on the drums, Mike Porter on the bass, Caitlin Hill on the audio, Chris Science. Wizard Broadcasting. That was Spencer Day as our special guest. Thanks again to KRTU 91.7 for being our media sponsor. We'll see you all tomorrow night, same time, same channel. Thank you all so much. Sleep well. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.